Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
And I'm Mac.
And Mac, what will we be talking about today?
Well, today we're going to go into, I think it's kind of even appropriate during this season as we're getting into the elections and all that kind of good stuff. The danger of online conspiracy theories and ideation, which is it's a huge topic. We can't get to everything obviously today, but we've got a couple of things to talk about and to go home and do your homework on some of the things that maybe you are actually believing.
All right. And so, as usual, we'll be showing a clip, and also as usual, we'll show the reference video link in the description.
That's right.
Tonight, our Student Reporting Labs team brings us another edition of Moments of Truth, a series that delves into the spread of misinformation. David Morrill of Portland, Oregon, was involved in online conspiracy theory communities until a mental health crisis forced him to confront his beliefs. He talked with his father about how he found his way back to reality.
In the real world, I was falling behind. In this digital fantasy, I was unlocking the secrets of the universe. Hello, I'm David Morrill. I'm a 30-year-old graduate student, and we're here today to talk about how I slowly got drawn into conspiracy theories.
I mean, he seems like, again, you start at the beginning with these things, and again, it's Portland, Oregon. It's still Oregon-based, so we're still in the state. But it's really interesting how normal the guy seems. And even some of we have some friends, mutual friends that are on the fringe with some of these ideas, and they're perfectly normal, at least so we think. But that's my immediate thought about this guy's like, yeah, he seems like a totally normal guy. How bad can it be?
Oh, we'll get into it.
I'm Scott Morrill. I'm David's dad. I don't think at first I had any inkling that something was going on.
It all started with something called the Cicada 3301. It's this online puzzle. It starts with basic problem solving. You would take, say, an anagram and arrange letters correctly to get a URL. I got involved more deeply in communities that were trying to crack this. I started going on Reddit specifically. I realized I couldn't. But there were other less well-known puzzles and challenges that people were directing my attention towards. I got it up in my head that there was some shadow group running everything. Maybe if I solved these things, they'd let me in. I'd be a member, right? I never knew what the grand sacred truth was. I was just going through a hero's journey.
Yeah, so, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind with this is QAnon, which is still somehow being perpetrated in social media, even though it's been disproven and debunked completely. This is a weird one because this is kind of using people's like obsessive compulsive stuff against them a little bit. Is like he thinks, oh my god, he's seeing patterns, right? And he's good at puzzles, and so he's finding URLs and he's finding all this crazy shit out of it. If you're doing this alone and then you start finding other people with the like mindset, I could see how this could become addictive.
Oh yeah, for sure. So this happened in the 2012 and 2014. This whole Cicada 3301.
I have never heard of that before. This is the most amazing thing about it. Is that there's probably a heck of a lot more of these types of things. That's Cicada 3.
Well, don't get into it. I mean, we don't want to have to draw you out from the conspiracy theories here.
I'm not. So. I will never be doing that because it takes too much effort.
All right, let's move on here.
Of challenges and puzzles to try to get there, maybe.
Did you get more sort of desperate to crack the code, so to speak?
Yeah. My relationship began failing darn near immediately after marriage, and my income was paltry at best. I wasn't sleeping, I was taking drugs, and I started getting really paranoid, as is a common side effect of marijuana. I started frantically reaching out and trying to express my concerns to you.
You were talking about stuff that your mother and I we didn't get it. At some point, there was a traumatic event that kind of brought this all to a head.
My imagination was running away from me, so I got in the shower, and for over a dozen hours I refused to get out. People were knocking, and I was terrified of them. I knew that the water running over me was comforting, and so I refused to move. On hindsight, the doctors have labeled it a drug-induced psychosis, which means I lost touch with reality completely.
It's an absolutely terrifying thing to see a loved one in that much distress and not know what you can do about it.
I don't know. I've never met anybody who's gone through anything like this, even close. I mean, I'm kind of familiar with that, the term, the drug-induced psychosis. Not that I have been involved in that, but I have heard of that before. But it seemed like the psychosis was already going on before the drugs, and then the drugs just made it worse.
Right.
I can't even imagine getting to this place. What about you?
I can. I mean, it's happened to me. No, just kidding. No, I mean, it does have, this drug induced psychosis. I think to your point, it's probably already the setting was already set. I mean, like the base was already set, right?
The
He's
mental
already
health,
there,
yeah.
and then it just took a chemical in order to trigger the psychosis, right? And
Yeah,
remember that Coney 2012 dude? Remember that Coney 2012? Do you remember that where it's like this American filmmaker was doing a documentary of the what were they? Were they like child soldiers in Africa? Do you remember this at all?
oh,
And
no,
then
it sounds a little familiar, but no, I don't know if I remember that term or the title of it.
and I think and then he like all of a sudden went on a psychotic break, and I think that was also drug induced. So
Mm.
he was walking around Miami or wherever. I mean, I probably should have all these facts checked before I get
No,
on the show, but those kinds
yeah.
of psychoses, I mean, because again, it's like, that guy was kind of like deep into the trying to do this documentary and trying to get behind what the reason was of these child soldiers and trying to help them out and everything. And then, one hit a pot and he snaps.
Well, and that's the thing about even, something like that, along with with the QAnon folks as well, the whole Pizzagate and the Democrats in Hollywood are trafficking kids and all this crazy nonsense. It's something that whoever creates these theories and in these things that they do are trying to make people feel like they're heroes or they're somehow special, they're unique because they recognize the pattern, right? And so then you start feeling like that, and then you get into the echo chambers of Reddit of all places. God, I would never want to
Yeah.
get into anything like that with regards to this stuff. But they just then they start cheerleading one another towards it, and they really believe, right? And then that's when the psychosis hits. That's when the drugs hit because he became isolated from other people who are like,
Right.
yeah, okay, I ain't hanging out with this guy,
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's a really interesting dynamic, but yeah.
All right. We'll keep going here.
We called in some experts that knew how to deal with it and basically talked you down and helped you on a path to recovery. You started working with some people in the healthcare industry that helped.
Yeah. I wish I could give more of a single moment where the not believing in conspiracies kind of emerged. All I know is that by your not being judgmental, by not telling me that it was all fake or that I was crazy, I was able to slowly climb back out because of your support. So, thank you.
Honestly, it's a good thing that I was not in charge of his treatment because I would have been telling him you're crazy and none of it's real. Yeah, but I mean, I think that actually that I thought that part of the clip was really important for if you do know somebody like that, right? It is kind of easy to make that judgment on them. Like you can go back and look at all sorts of stories of cults and conspiracy theories, and you're like, oh, I would never fall for that, or I would never do any of that. And sometimes people just go down that path, but they're pushed down that path because they think they're heroes and they're being discriminated against. So now it becomes this whole righteous kind of thing that they're on this quest. And so it's good that his dad did that. Like he didn't make those statements. He left the door open. And I think that's pretty critical to this guy's story.
I don't know if I'll be that patient like you said about yourself as well, because it's I mean, honestly, like any clip that I watch on, on any of the social media platforms of a particular candidate's rallies, right? And how those people spew misinformation after disinformation after another, and they just sound so idiotic and moronic and kind of and crazy that I know I would not have the patience to go, okay, well, tell me more about that, or give them space to kind of keep spouting stupid stuff.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, I think that's why these things continue to propagate. Is there does need to be. Uh, I don't even know how you do it with so many people who believe in those types, and especially when you get into a cult of personality. How do you stop that? Because all you're hanging around with are the people who believe the same way that you do, right? You don't
right,
have any critical thinking at that point. You sort of give up on all that to join something. It's that whole idea of being a part of something bigger than yourself, I guess, because everyone wants that, right? I don't think that's limited to just the cultists and the conspiracy theories. We all, I mean, we all want to be part of something bigger, and because otherwise, what does all this mean?
right,
Otherwise, right?
right.
So, but yeah, I mean, this is an interesting case, and I had never heard this cicada 3301 or whatever the heck it was. It's crazy, but yeah, I want to hear the rest of this guy's story.
All right.
Gonna make me cry. Since then, stuff has taken a turn
Swiftly.
for the better.
Yes. Now I've gotten 2 bachelor's degrees, actually, and successfully defended my thesis just last month.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I wanted to know what happened to me and also hopefully help others in the future. I started focusing on conspiratorial ideation and persuasion online, and I've got to be honest, it's more invigorating going through the proper channels than it is making these aha breakthroughs in your basement.
Well, and I hope that your mother and I we weren't accusatory.
You were very supportive. At the end of the day, I could have dismissed anybody except you guys. You've made it abundantly clear throughout my whole life that you care, so I appreciate that.
It would be impossible to overstate how much we care.
Sorry, I lost my way for a bit.
I mean, I think this is the best case scenario with this kind of stuff. I think
for sure.
someone is able to make it through with the support of family. But I mean, I know we know someone who is very good, very good friend of the show who has had a wide ranging views on different things over the years, right? And
Mhm.
so to see those wide ranging views be held so closely as fact, either previous views or current views, it's just really, I'm not that sure of anything that I can say, yes, 100%, this is the way it is, and then label other people as according to those viewpoints. So I think people just have to be really careful when they're going through it. One, try to be mindful of it, of your own biases, of the things that you look at, and that, and then honestly, that applies to everything that we're ever going to talk about on this show. Is like, we're not trying to say it's 100% true on any of the stuff, right? There's evidence to support certain theories. There's evidence to the the contrary. So we kind of present that, and we give our own viewpoint on it. I think people will know pretty much, but we're not trying to convince anybody, right? It's like one of the I don't know if this is the greatest example, but there was a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry was kind of joking about Christianity and missionaries and all that kind of thing. It's like, we don't from the Jews, they don't go around saying lobster, you should like lobster, you should try this lobster, you should lobster's good, you gotta try this. And obviously Cheryl didn't have any, she didn't really equate that, but I do kind of understand that it's like someone's like, no, this is good for you, you should have this, you should try this. And that's the scary thing with the people who get so wrapped up in their surety of what it is that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Nobody should be that sure, because it just leaves you wide open.
Well, and I want to go back to a question or not a question, but a statement you made earlier, that that guy looked normal, although this is the after. Who knows what he looked like beforehand? I mean,
That's true.
he could have, I don't know, maybe there's definitely stereotypical image in your mind of a conspiracy theorist, right? You got the loner, probably wears all black, um, you know, has a hat that's black that has a turtle on it. No,
Aloha.
but um, but no, I mean, you got your loners, you've got your antisocial um individuals who are probably more prone to getting themselves deep into conspiracy theories or even one particular conspiracy theory. And I mean, there have been some. I mean, I would imagine that yes, this was the success story of a turnaround, but there have been some tragedies that have happened because of individuals who've kind of entangled themselves into one conspiracy theory or another.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we don't know still much about this kid who did try to attempt to shoot the former president. Um, the only thing we know is that he was a registered Republican and had a lot of guns. He was big into the Second Amendment, which to me, the whole Second Amendment thing to me is almost a bit of a cult. It's like, guns, you got to have guns. Why don't you try these guns? You're gonna like it. It's like, okay, yeah, shooting guns is kind of fun. When I was a kid, kind of got over that pretty quick. I don't need it. We're not in the point of having to have another revolution, but that particular former president is fomenting that stuff online on social media now today. He's putting that kind of stuff out there. It's really dangerous because what it does is you get these people riled up, right? And then they start talking, and then they start organizing, and then they start planning. And what you don't want is that I saw a clip just the other day of some dude who tried to rush at the press and at this particular presidential candidate's rally, and that person just kept like encouraging us, oh, that that guy's on our side, right? He's one of us.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that, one, when you have that kind of power, but even just on these smaller level things, when this Reddit, that's one of the reasons why I don't really go on Reddit. I don't know about you.
I used to be on Reddit a lot more than I am now. I mean, there's only one other Reddit thread that I've followed. It's actually the paranormal Reddit thread. But
Right, right. Yeah. It's just a dangerous place, unless you're real careful, and if you are, prone to believing like right away in things, then you definitely want to stay clear of that. But I don't know what the lesson is from this here, other than just I think trying to be critically thinking without like falling for the idea that you think you're critically thinking, but you're not.
well,
You're not
yeah.
looking at all this stuff, right?
I think there's two very public examples of why you don't want to get yourself into conspiracy theories. One, Alex Jones and his
Oh,
conspiracy theory of Sandy Hook massacre being staged
that's
and not
got
true.
somebody. Yeah, so
That
much
guy is
damage.
bankrupt now, or at least is on his way to full
Well, it should be.
bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And then two, Mike Lindell, with his continuing conspiracy of voter fraud that happened in the 2020 election, which of course has been disproven so many times by one court after another, and he's still spewing, that kind of conspiracy theory. I saw an ad on like a spam email on my in my inbox of my pillow is like two for 12.99. I mean, like he's discounting so heavily.
Well,
He's
because
on
no
his
one's
way to being
buying it.
bankruptcy. Actually, he has filed for
I
bankruptcy,
I
hasn't
think
he?
so. Yeah, and like the same thing with Rudy Giuliani and all those people
Yep.
who are involved in that. I mean, and you look at Rudy Giuliani, and I was actually, just because we're pretty close to, or I don't know what date this is coming out, but it's around September 11th, roughly ish, maybe past that. But anyway, I usually watch every year a few like of those live as it happens kind of things with that, because I was there old enough to remember everything. It's not like I was like born in 1997. I remember everything uh, 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 about that. I remember how important that he was to the city
Mm-hmm.
of New York, right?
Yeah.
And you looked at him then; he was healthy and strong. And then you look at him even back in 2016. It was not just aging; it's the ideas. When people break down mentally, I think it affects them physically,
Yeah.
right? So you can see it, and now he just looks like a bald like vampire. It is what he looks like now. He looks so mentally ill and unhealthy because of the kookiness of this. So I mean, he's a pretty good. What's it called? You would say not to do that. It's like a something story. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's a precautionary
Oh yeah,
tale.
precautionary tale. Yeah.
Yeah, of like what can happen to like someone who kind of had it all, and then to see where they are now, they're bankrupt and downtrodden and beholden to the very thing that they were trying to support. It's like, ugh, gross.
Yeah, America's mayor to America's trader. So,
Yep. Yep.
all right. Well, I know that one of the things we talked about doing is teasing what we're going to be talking about next week. Do you want to go into that real quick, Mac?
Right. I am kind of looking forward to this one. This one's kind of a fun one. We're getting back into the UAP thing a little bit here. Not that we haven't been talking about that, but Foo Fighters, and I don't mean the band. If you don't know what that is, you should definitely look it up because it'll help you prepare for the next show. But it's something pretty interesting and is amongst the earliest sightings that we have a lot of recording and data on back in the 1940s during World War II.
Well, I'm looking forward to digging into that. Well, folks, if you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and share it across your socials, and just to help get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe, and on YouTube, click that notification bell so that you don't miss any new videos that we put out. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.